I'm so glad to be here. And I am going to start with a story. I'm going to start with a story. I tell stories a lot, so I'm going to start with a story. In 2018, all right, in 2018, I started my savings circling. Sorry, my Cowrywise account in 2018. I think early 2018, and then I started to. I got into the job market, into the professional world in 2017 after my time in school. And coming from where I was coming from, it's not like I know, it's not even that I know I have money. Like, I did have money, right, for my background and all of that. So I got my first job, and then I was being paid peanuts. Right, I was being paid peanuts, literally. And honestly, that first year I was practically just winging it. I didn't have a savings. Right, I didn't have a savings at all, and I was practically just winging it. I don't want to say how much I was earning, but can anybody make a wild guess? Make a wild guess in the comments. Let me see if there's anybody who can guess. But I wasn't earning so much, and so I just kept okay. Okay. Okay, so number one, it was more than 30K, but it wasn't up to 40K. So you find whatever it is that you're going to find in that range, that's okay. So it was so hard for me to. I felt that's how I felt, and then I gave myself a lot of excuses that it was so hard for me to, for me to save, because I mean, who lives in Lagos with that kind of amount? You need to send money home if need be, you need to fend for, you need to feed, you need to buy clothes, you need to do all of those things. So by 2018, I had changed jobs once, I had increased incomes, but I had still not been saving. So now I started working in 2017. I want you guys to observe the trajectory. I started working in 2017, and then I got, I got paid peanuts, and then I kept telling myself I can't save because this is not even enough for me to live on. Right? Someone that could not save, why would I be thinking of investment? So it means investment was out of the line, right? And by the time I got into 2018, I had changed jobs and had increased incomes, but yet I still wasn't saving. Why? Because I kept saying this is not enough. I don't want people to guess how much I was earning so that nobody would think I have money. But right, and I had changed jobs and increased incomes, and yet I still kept saying that I couldn't save. I don't have money. I still have things to do and all of that. Then by December 2018, was it 2018? Yes, one of my friends who was like a career mentor for me called me and asked me, Orifunke, how much do you have in your savings account right now? And then I said, let's just be thanking God, because, and then he said, so if you have an emergency right now, it means that you have to be running helter-skelter. Like, you will have, if you need something from somebody, a lot of times, what you have is what they have to build on. So if you come and meet me and say that, oh, you need 50K for something, I'm going to ask you, how much do you already have? So it meant that if I ran into an emergency, God forbid, at that time, and then I went to meet anybody to give me or lend me money, number one, I couldn't even tell them, oh, I have something. I don't have anything. It's only God I had. I didn't have anything. And then he sat down and then he spoke the reality of my position to me. Is that you're earning, but it doesn't feel like you're earning. And it was a rude awakening. So he had to, put me on some sort of regimen and accountability. And then I had to start saving a portion of my salary every month. After that period, I had to start saving every month at a particular date, and it had to be locked. And then I had to start saving consistently, like every single month. And then at the end of every month, or at the date that I had to start saving, because I got paid salary on 26th, at the date I started to save, I had to tell, I would tell him I've saved. That was how I started to gradually develop a savings culture. My session would be succinct, and the first thing I'm going to say is that a lot of times people think that savings, it starts with the desire to save, like, oh, I want to save, I feel like saving and all of that. But I would say that it starts with a discipline to save, even if you do not have the desire to save. And the discipline means that you are telling yourself, even if it is 100 naira per day, right? Even if it is 100 naira that I'm going to be saving, or per month, per, anytime I get my salary or my wage, I'm going to save a percentage, even if it's like that. I am going to save. So people often say, oh, I'm not earning enough. How much are they paying me? They are paying me 20K. They are paying me 10K. But if you earn 30K and then you do not develop the habit of saving, even if it is 1K out of that 30K every month, if you don't develop the habit, you see, when you start to earn 300K, it won't be enough. Right, it won't be enough. That's the first thing that I'm going to say. So it's both a discipline that you have to inculcate, and then you need to start from, as small as possible. So don't just start from somewhere really, really, or don't just be ambitious. Which brings me to the next thing I'm going to say. You need to understand your saving capacity. We all have saving capacities. You could put two people together in a room or whatever, and both of them earn 30K, and I'm not saying will, right? A may be able to save, let's say, 20% or 30% of what they're earning, right? And B may be struggling. And I'm saying that this is assuming that they have the same number of responsibilities, right? They have maybe the same number of the same amount, they have to feed on the same amount every month, transport and all of that. So you could put two people together, and A may save considerably more while B is struggling to save, because all things being equal for the both of them, they may have two different saving capacities. Do you understand? So A might have been saving from when they were young, or they might have just developed a consistent savings culture over a while, and B may have gotten used to spending anytime they have money, or not being exposed to that savings culture. You need to understand your saving capacities, right? And how much it is that you can save. So I remember that in 2018, I saw on Twitter, somebody said that, I don't want to mention the person's name. Somebody said they used to save 3K every day. And I was like, oh my God, you're saving 3K in this Nigeria. So when I wanted to start my savings, I think I put like 2K every single day. I was like, I'm going to do it, because if I can believe it, I can achieve it. My faith is going to carry my finances, everything. And it was a struggle for me. And I met with another of my friends one period, and he asked me, how much are you saving? I said, I'm saving 2K every day. And they were like, that's not how to save now. How much do you save on a normal day? I was like, I don't save like that. And he said, so how do you want to move from somebody who doesn't save regularly on a normal day to somebody who saves 2K on a normal day? Like, you're going to get to a point where you suffer withdrawal symptoms, like technically. So you know that if a person is addicted to smoking, for instance, or alcohol, like you want them to stop, you don't ask them to abruptly stop, because it can affect them medically. They could start suffering withdrawal symptoms, right? So it's the same way as your savings. You don't save all of the time, but then all of a sudden you're saying, I want to start saving 100K per month when you earn 120K per month. How is it? It's not going to happen, right? You're just going to start. So next thing, you're being cranky. And what would happen is that after a while, you find out that you cannot meet up with the targets that you have set for yourself, or the milestone that you have set for yourself, because it's unrealistic. So you just stop saving altogether. That's what's going to happen. So you need to understand what your saving appetite is. So how much can I do per month? How much can I do per week. You need to also be wary of what you call lifestyle inflation. And that's why when people even earn more, you find out that they're not saving more. If you were earning 30K before and then you start to earn 70K, all of you, it's not even something that you consciously do. It's just subconscious, and that's why for you to deal with it, you have to be conscious. So you just start finding out that, oh, maybe before you used to take public transport, but now because you earn more, so you want to take Uber more. So now the last thing that I'm going to be talking about, at least before the question and answer session, is that you also need to pay attention to accountability. See, my friend helped me because at that time, there's really nobody I could have opened up to. I told this person that I don't have a savings culture because it was embarrassing for me. How will I say that I'd worked for 1 year in Lagos, a whole Lagos, and I didn't have a savings. So if an emergency happened or if something just happened in my family, I couldn't even bring out money, right? But I was able to open up to this person and he was able to help. So I understand that a lot of times when you don't, especially this kind of, in our world where they are quite secretive about money matters. So if you feel like it's not adding up and you need some form of help, you can find a trusted person who you can tell and open up to, like, see, I've been working for 5 years, I don't have any savings. I want to say that it is shameful, but it is nothing to be ashamed of, right? Because at least you're coming to terms with the fact that there's something that you need to do. But if you do not have accountability, a lot of times it is so hard for you to save. So my friend was there. So you save regularly, or if you can save this month, and then he helped me. So when we launched the Lady Mobile Savings Circle in 2020, it was born out of my mentality that if people have other people that they can save with, then they'll save better. Because you know that you're not the only person. There's somebody else who is cheering you up. There are other people who are also saving like you. So it's important for you to find accountability. If you feel like your savings culture is shit, or you feel like, oh, I'm not earning enough, I don't even know how much I want to earn, make sure you find accountability from people or from somebody that you can trust. Yes, it can, right? It can be shameful, but honestly, it is nothing to be ashamed of, as long as you come to terms with the fact that you're growing. There's this saying I recently picked up that says, anytime a person wakes up, is their morning. Even if it is afternoon, see your morning. If it is in the night, you see. As long as you wake up at the end of the day. So thank you very much. Thank you so much. I think that'll be all from my end for now. While we bring Enor up. Thank you.
We call Enor the Siri at Cowrywise. She's the customer experience manager at Cowrywise. We call her Siri jokingly because Enor knows a lot about a lot. So Enor, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Bolaji. Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, awesome. All right, quickly, I'm just going to share my screen. I really took time to design slides in Figma, so guys, indulge me. So we've been having lots of conversation, as in Orifunke really explained everything in detail, and I was just sharing with my colleague that it seems Orifunke saw my slides, and I'm positive that she didn't, but yeah, just goes to show her how much in sync we are, and really I'm grateful for that. All right, so we're talking about saving and investing, and I'm just going to be sharing from my personal experience on how I have personally saved and invested on Cowrywise in the last few years. Yeah, so let's get to it. Okay, so yeah, what was the motivation for me? So many times you hear people say they started saving and investing right from when they were young, or they were brought up to understand saving and investing. Some people do not understand saving and investing. So I'm just going to be sharing my personal motivation on how I got into savings and investing. So it started in 2018. So I met with a young man who is now my boss, and we were having a conversation, and he gave me a sheet of paper and told me to write out different goals or different dreams I intend to achieve in the next, say, few months or years, as the case may be. It just told me to like be free. There were no limits. What would I like to do, say, in the next few years? And I set it right now. I want to travel. I want to do this. I want to go for my master's. Blah blah blah. And when I was done, he asked me one simple question: can you afford to do any of the things on this list right now? And in my head, I was like, man, I really cannot do. So it just like took me back and made me realize that there is nothing we plan to do, or there is nothing we intend to do that can go without proper planning and, say, setting aside funds for all of those plans. And it just brought me to the realization that I needed to like start setting out funds for different things in my life. If I want to go for my master's, I need to start saving towards that. If I want to rent an apartment, I need to start saving towards that. And that was just what got me into savings generally. So yeah, let's move on. Sorry. Now, the first thing I want to say is define your goals, or not, don't. If you can't define your goals, that's fine as well. Just start. So I started savings properly in 2018. And this was because I had that conversation with my boss and he gave me all of that gist. And at that point, I did not have like, say, specific goals to achieve, or set specific goals for why I was starting to save and invest. At that point, you know, right now people tell you, once you want to start saving, you need to plan. What do you want to save for? How long do you want to save for it? And blah blah blah. But personally, I did not have like set goals. What I had in mind was, I just want to keep money in place so that whenever I needed money, I had something to fall back on. So it was just vibes, really, just vibes. Let's just keep money somewhere and get it when we need to. And then in 2019, adulting happened. In 2019 was the year I decided that I needed to move out of where I was staying to my own apartment. So it just dawned on me that, oh, okay, I could actually like save for my apartment, right? And then I channeled savings towards like acquiring an apartment. And I started to like plan for, okay, I'm going to get an apartment. I'm going to like furnish the apartment. I'm going to get stuff for the apartment. And all of that just started to like streamline my saving goals. And then I started to like have plans and purpose in place for my savings. And that is how I moved on. So irrespective of whether you have goals or not, irrespective of whether you have plans for the savings or not, just start. Like, don't wait until you have like specific goals. Just start something. And as you start, you build an habit that when it's time for you to like have proper goals, or when it's time for you to like have proper plans for the funds you've been keeping aside, you have something to fall back on. So next stop, plan, and plan again. Like really, kind of overemphasize this. Planning is very important. And like Orifunke said during our talk, she mentioned that there are people who can afford to save 20% of their income. There are people who can afford to save 50% of their income. And there are also people that will struggle, like literally struggle to save 5% of their income. And this is not because they're not disciplined. This is not because they earn too little. It is just because probably the expenses are a lot. They have a lot of people depending on them, and they can't afford to save so much. So it depends on you. What can you afford per time? And before you can even like think of what you need to set aside for savings and investments, you need to like come to terms with how much you spend. How much of my income do I spend on a monthly basis? Say if you receive income on a monthly basis, you want to plan your expenditure per month. If you receive on a weekly basis, I think it's reasonable for you to plan your expenditure per week as well. So depending on how much you get, you can set aside an amount to save once you understand how much you spend. So understand how much you spend, and that gives you like a guide on how much you want to save. if you have an income of 50,000 and you spend 40K on a monthly basis for all your expenditure, this is including transportation, including feeding, and everything you spend in a month. It doesn't make sense for you to say, I want to save 40K of my salary, because by the time you save 40K, you will struggle to go through the month. You don't want to save all of your income and then at the end of the day start scrambling for money and then run into like debt, trying to like meet up with your monthly expenditure. So it is important to understand how much you spend and do not save all your income. It is very important. Don't go and say, because I need to be disciplined, I need to save for my future, and then carry all of your income and put in savings and investment. That does not make sense at all. You need to like manage your expense and then work that into your savings. Now, also, you might need to like cut down on some expenses. Now, this leads me to my next slide, which is this: no go dey do pass yourself. And really, you want to ask yourself this question: can my current income sustain my current lifestyle? If your answer to that is no, then you need to like walk around cutting corners. What are some of the things you spend money on that you really shouldn't be spending money on? What are the things you spend money on that you can do away without? What are the things you spend money on that might not necessarily be needs at the moment? Might just be bonds, might just be trying to make life more convenient than you can afford to. So you need to like understand your present income and then work your lifestyle to fit your income. You can't be earning 50K and your expenditure is running into 50K or 60K. It's, in as much as Lagos is expensive or Nigeria is expensive or whatever it is expensive, if you're earning a particular amount, it makes sense that you cut your expenditure to fit into your income, and also like set aside some things for savings. If you okay, let me use myself as an example. When I started out to save, when I started working initially, I was working on the island and I was living somewhere in Ikorodu, and of course, living in Lagos is drama. If you live in Lagos, you already understand what I'm trying to say. So commuting from Lagos, from Ikorodu to the island, someone might say commuting from Ogun State to Lagos, or whatever it is, commuting from Ikorodu to the island was hard enough. And I could have said, well, I can't be doing bus. I need to like go use Uber every day, so I'm convenient or so I'm comfortable. And in as much as that is a very convenient way of life, it is not a sustainable way of life, considering how much I was earning at that point. If I was earning, say, ₦1 million, why not take Uber? In fact, buy a car or something. But at that point, I wasn't earning enough to take Uber every day, or to even like have like all the conveniences of life. So try to understand your current income and fit your lifestyle. You need to be like awfully realistic about it. If you can't afford something, don't go for it, right? Yes, that and that. Now, this brings the question, so how much should I save and invest? Now, this is something I tell people all the time. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to savings and investing. What works for Enor will not work for you. What works for Orifunke will not work for someone else. So you need to like understand, just like we've been saying from the beginning of this conversation, understand where you are at now with regards to your income and your expenses. Now fit in your savings into that. If your income, your expenses is running into like say 30% of your income, then you know you need to save some part of the leftover you have. You might not want to save all of the 20% that is remaining, because of course there are emergencies that can happen, there are things that can happen on the way. So you need to like say, okay, what if I save 15% of what is left? What if I save 10%, just depending on what is convenient for you based on your present income, and then save that. After 2018 again, when I started saving, I was saving 10% of my income. Right now, I can conveniently save 40% of my income. That's not because I am the richest girl here, or I am very disciplined, or I just like savings. It's just because I understand how much of my income I spend on a monthly basis to meet my needs. And I know that if I save 40% of my income, I would still be very comfortable without having to like run into debt or having to like borrow within the month and all of that. So understand you. If, for instance, everybody might not be able to save 40% of their salary, while some people will be able to save conveniently 60%, and that's fine as well. If that's what works for you, please do that, right? Are we together? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right, so one thing people need to understand is the difference between savings and investments. Now, on Cowrywise, interestingly, you can do both whilst you're doing one, right? But generally, the major difference between savings and investments are, one, the risk, and two, the duration. So for savings, you're probably just saving for a short term, something you intend to achieve in, say, 3 months, 1 year, right? But for investments, you're thinking long term. You're thinking 7 years, 5 years, 10 years, and above, right? So savings and investment differ in that regard. Savings are more short term, while investments are for the long term, right? Now, I listed some example goals here. So I'm just going to like mention them, and I want you to put in the chat from which one they fit in. So home, for instance, is saving for an apartment, let's say rent, right? Would that be like would you save for and invest for an apartment, or invest for an apartment? I'd like to know your answers. So whilst I'm waiting for your answers, there's also vacation. Are you going to save for a vacation or invest towards a vacation? Interesting. All right. Yeah. Interesting. Awesome. All right. So for your personal education, are you going to save towards your personal education or invest towards your personal education? What about your kids' education? Are you going to save towards that? Right now, I'm assuming that we're all young people here. So are you saving or investing for your kids' education? Okay. There's some people that might need to actually save for their kids' education if you are in your, awesome. If you're slightly older, you might want to like save for your kids' education, because your kids are probably going to get into school in the next 2 years or 3 years, right? All right, what about get to December plans? Yay. Okay, yeah, I see your answers. Very interesting, very, very impressive answers. Now, car purchase as well. And trust me, there are some people that might actually have to invest for a car purchase. If you want to buy a Benz, for instance, that's some investments you need to do. For me, right? Me, I do have money. Some people can just take money from their accounts and buy a Lamborghini or something. Okay, so yes, I think we all have it together. We all, okay, I think we all have it quite understood now. Yes, so savings are short term, like I said, investments are for the long term. So personally, for my kids' education, because I don't have kids now, it would probably be an investment, say like a my child education trust or something that would be, say my kid is going to get into the university in, say, 10, 15 years, because I don't even have a kid now, right? So that's like long-term plans. And that's definitely investments. But for things like saving for an apartment, your yearly rent, that would be something you're saving for, not investing for. But one thing that Cowrywise helps you do, and I'm sure Mobolaji will expatiate on this later, is that you can invest while saving. And that is something that really helped me as a person. I was bragging to my friends about how I've earned almost 250K in returns only just on savings. And this is because on Cowrywise, your savings are also invested on your behalf, right? You don't have to think through the process. You don't have to wait for someone to fill a form or blah, blah, blah. Just put in your money and then you get daily returns based on how much interest you're offered. So yes, so talking about differences between savings and investing, there's also the risk part. So if you're doing savings, you want to do something that is not going to expose you to a lot of risk to the extent of you losing your capital, right? I don't know if I'm making sense. If I'm getting too technical, please draw me back, right? Okay, yes. So for savings, you want to put in your money in something that protects your capital to a reasonable extent. You don't want to save for your rent and then discover at the end of 6 months that your rent probably disappeared because the investment you put it into is very risky and then gets into your capital, right? So you want to put your money in something that guarantees you the security of your money. So by the time you need to pull out the money for the particular reason you're saving it for, you have access to it, right? But for investments, you can because it's for a long term, and generally investments pay better on a long term. And when I'm talking investments, I'm not talking Ponzi schemes or money juggling schemes. Those are not investments. Investments are things that you understand, and this leads me to my next point here, which is please again, look before you leap. This is very important that you understand the kind of investment you're going into. And like I mentioned just a few minutes earlier, Ponzi schemes are not investments. Money juggling schemes are not investments. Those are gamblings, right? Those are just playing around to know if your luck can give you some money. And if you want to do that, that's totally fine by you, but we do not recommend that at Cowrywise. I personally do not recommend that at all. Investments are things that you can understand. So if, for instance, you want to invest in equities, you know that these are stocks and they are very risky because you don't know how a company can perform tomorrow. You can only tell how they're performing right now. You can't tell what happens tomorrow. So those are pretty risky. There are different types of investments, and it is important that before you put your money in anything, you totally understand it. And one thing you should know is that high returns equals high risk. So if you see something that is giving you really high returns, you need to understand that there is also risk involved in that. So like I mentioned earlier, when you're starting out with your savings, you need to put in your money. The goal should be that you're trying to sustain your capital. Now, whilst I try to round up, now some people might say, what about inflation? Now, something you need to understand is that there will always be inflation. I was looking at the rates this morning and it has just been on the rise. It's just, well, it dropped by say 0.12% in the last few months. But irrespective, it is something that has been going up on steady. So it is important that you understand this and not just put your money somewhere. So understand that inflation will always happen, especially in Nigeria. The Naira is, and this is me putting it nicely, the Naira keeps depreciating, right? And yes, it's not a stable currency, so inflation will happen. But then think about this, two scenarios I'm putting in front of you. Which is a better option? If you have 1 million as of 2022, that might probably be worth less than 1 million as of today, right? Is it fine that you have 1 million or you don't have it at all? So what's the better option? You have 1 million in 2022 that is probably not as much as 1 million today, or you do not have it at all, right? So it is important that you set money aside. If you don't have the 1 million at all, you won't even have the buying power of what the 1 million can offer in the next 2 years. But if you have it, at least you'll be able to afford some things that 1 million can afford at that time. So it's important that you set aside funds for your savings and for your investment. So yeah, that's about it. Yeah, I left my introduction to last. So yeah, so that's me. Sorry, that's me. My name is Enor. I work with the CX team at Cowrywise. Yeah, I'm on Twitter and IG. Follow me if you like. And yes, if you don't already use Cowrywise, please sign up. And you can use my referral code Enor, just ENOR, and you get 250 naira courtesy Cowrywise, right? Yeah. Thank you very much, guys. I hope you've been able to get something from today's
Thank you, Enor. We have quite a number of questions, man, on Cowrywise. So please put on your video and your audio as well. So some questions here about halal schemes that we have on Cowrywise. Somebody is also asking about repaying debts. I think you should just first talk about, like, if you can just maybe summarize the products that we have that people here can take advantage of, so you're not just taking them one by one.
Okay, yeah. So good. So we have savings products and we also have investment products. Personally, I feel that both are investment options because on your savings, we invest them into money market instruments. That's things like treasury bills, commercial papers, and bonds. Now, these are instruments that are highly secure. You can't lose your money in all of those options. And yes, presently we offer between 5.5% to about 8.5%, depending on how the market performs generally, right? And yes, that's what we offer on savings. And then we have mutual funds. Mutual funds are a mix of investment from different assets, right? So we have different types of mutual funds. We can have a whole session about mutual funds, and I'm not sure time will permit us to go deeply. But you can check on the app and you can always reach out to support anytime you have questions. But generally, what you need to understand is on the savings app, on savings product, what you need to do is create a plan, and then based on the duration you have, you start to earn returns, right? And every day you see your money growing based on the interest you're earning. And this is the product Orifunke used with a lady with Balls gang, and they were able to like save millions of naira and they earned returns. That's also the product I used and was able to earn about thousands of naira in returns. Let's not give figures, right? So yes, on the savings products, you can earn as much as 8.5% per annum, depending on how long you're saving for. Now, the investment is not as rigid as the savings products. On the savings products, we try to be very disciplined. So for that, once we set it up, it's locked for the period you choose, and you can't access the funds until after that period, and which is a very big selling point for that plan. It means that once it's there, no going to it and saying, give me my money back, right? For the investment products, we have mutual funds, and like I said, there are different types. So depending on how much risk you can take, we recommend funds to you. So there are money market funds, which are low risk, and then there are medium funds, which are, they have like a level of risk. For this one, they're invested into a mix of money market instruments and also equity instruments, right? And then we have the equity mutual funds, which are the higher risk options. And like I mentioned earlier, investments are long-term, so it is better that if you're investing in any of these mutual funds, you think long-term. You think not just 3 months, not just 6 months. You're thinking 1 year, 2 years, and that's like how you can get really great returns on them. Someone talked about allow. So we have halal savings. On our halal savings, you don't earn returns, and this is because of what the allow, the Sharia, this is based on Sharia law. So if you're saving on the allow plans, you won't get any interest. But we have allow mutual funds that earn returns on profit sharing. So you earn returns based on profit sharing for the halal mutual fund. So if the mutual fund gains today, a certain return is shared for all investors in the mutual fund, and that's how it earns basically. Mobalaji, am I good?
Yes. So Ola Christy says, someone told me to save with one insurance company. They provide savings options for 9 years to get a percentage of 18% or so. I can't really remember. But if I decide to stop this saving before the 9 years is over, I don't get the percentage increase. Also, it's a monthly savings of the least of 10K. Is this a wise savings plan, considering the savings period and the percentage? Enor?
Thank you so much. That's a very good question. So if you listened on when I was talking about the differences between saving and investments, I mentioned that the difference between savings and investments are in two parts. One, the duration for which you're saving is shorter, and the duration for investments are longer. And the second thing is the risk. Now, I do not know the insurance company you're talking about, but one thing I'm not comfortable with is the fact that you're going to be losing your interests if you do not stay true the tenor. So what I'd recommend is, why not start with a shorter term, since is savings, right? Why not do 2 years? And if after 2 years you're very comfortable, you roll over and you continue. And this is something very similar to what we offer on Cowrywise, really. You save, and after a period of time, you can roll over. But if you're going to be losing your returns, I don't think that's a very great idea. Maybe you should check other options, see what you can get. And since you're doing 9 years, why not look for something else that would give you options to diversify your income, to diversify the investment. So you're not just putting all your funds in that option, right? You're thinking you can put your funds into different investment options that can, at the end of the day, give you higher returns at the end of the 9 years we're talking about. So two things: losing your returns is a no-no, right? So why can you do a shorter term and then roll over after a period of time? If that's not an option, can you check out other options that are available to you? Well, the market is pretty much engaged right now. So there are other options you can look at outside that if you vetted them and you're not comfortable with their options.
Thank you, Enor. Yes, so I totally agree with what Enor has said. First of all, 9 years is a long time. You don't know what can happen in 9 years, and from the description that you gave, it just seems like the saving plan is like this. It's shocking. You should not have to start a savings plan that seems too rigid, right? So after every Simplified, we write a summary of the session, and we also post the recording, not all the parts, but some parts of the event on our YouTube channel, right? So you can subscribe to our YouTube to watch the recording of this session once it's up, and our previous sessions as well. And then on our blog, we would what we'll do is take all the questions that have been asked today that we've not been able to answer, and then we would answer them on that blog post. So please look out for the email. Since you registered, you get an email from us today, and then a follow-up email that you can then go and read the summarized version on our blog or watch the YouTube recorded session. So with that, we've come to the end of today's session. Thank you so much, Enor. Thank you so much, Orifunke.